Doors Open Connect.
Yes, what is the... First of all, I'll just say, hello, everyone. We just jump straight into it. Hello, everyone. I am here with Josh Marzucco. Is it Marzucco?
Marzucco.
Okay. From Marzucco Realty, or is it Real Estate?
Real estate, doesn't matter.
Because that's one thing when I came here, like, we don't call them realtors. We're like, they're real estate agents.
Right.
So when I would say, does anyone have like a real estate agent here that they know? Or like, whatever like the question would be, they'd be like, you mean a realtor? Like it was so disorientating for people to hear like such a long description. Right.
Yeah. No, we is Marzucco Real Estate LLC, and you can call us Marzucco Realty. Really doesn't matter.
Because you guys are popping up everywhere. Like you flood my Instagram with like all the realtors and everything.
We know the branding's working then.
Yeah. Well, you just hired like 5 more people in the last like 24, 48 hours, didn't you? Mm-hmm. That's some pretty serious growth.
Yeah. We're at just over 360 agents now.
Really?
4 offices, 360 agents. Our next target office, we're thinking either the East Coast or maybe like Fort Myers. We're in Cape Coral already. Yeah. But we're thinking the East Coast.
And how many? You've got four now spots. Mm-hmm. How long has Mazuca been around for?
We opened in the end of 2017.
Okay, so pretty young.
Yeah, right after I incorporated right before Hurricane Irma. I don't know if you were here for Irma.
I've been here for 12 months and 2 weeks.
Okay, so you weren't here for Irma. So we incorporated right before Irma. Couldn't even use my own office. My uncle owns a massive construction company in Southwest Florida, and his office got damaged pretty bad from Irma. And I had one agent at the time, so he needed my office to work out of because my office was fully functional. So I didn't get to use my own office for like the first 3 or 4 months we were open because they needed it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then we had that office for about a year. No, about 2 years actually. Just a little 400 square foot office, 500 square feet in the industrial park, and we quickly grew out of it. So we had to move into our new Naples location, and now we're in Naples, Cape Coral, Tampa, Plant City, and then we're way north in Lake City, Florida.
That's the recent one you guys just opened up.
Lake City's the newest one.
Yeah.
Correct. Yep.
And so you were just saying about the east side. I'm super ignorant. I'm still learning about the real estate, especially in Florida. Everything, I mean, since I moved here, because the original plan when I moved here was within 6 months we'll buy a house, and we all fine, because housing, even with the inflated prices here in terms of what the market did the last 2 years, I came from Sydney, and Sydney is like, I was living in an apartment 20 minutes from the city. Right. And that probably is worth about 1.1 now. Wow. 2-bedroom apartment. And it's an apartment from the 70s.
Wow.
Just like modernizing the interior, but you've still got to take stairs. There's no elevator. And even most houses, like I look at the houses here that are $3 million. Right. And for $3 million in Sydney, it's like I think my parents' house now would sell for about $4.5 million. Wow. And that same house here would probably be like, even with the crazy prices, 800,000.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's wild. I've never been to Australia. It's definitely a bucket list of mine, but
you got to. But you have to do it. That if you do go, it has to be a minimum of 2 to 3 weeks because it's such a trek. Right. It's like 26 hours of like total travel time. So you go here, Fort Myers, then you fly all the way to either LA, or you have to do a stopover via like Atlanta. Okay. And you have to go, so you go mid-stop sometimes, or if you're lucky, you go to Dallas or LA, and then you do the 14-hour flight.
Gotcha. So fun fact, I travel all the time, probably once a month, but I'm terrified to death of flying.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you like, my mother-in-law's like that, but she will just like white knuckle the whole flight. And she flies once every 2-3 weeks.
If you want a bad experience on an airplane, go on an airplane with me.
I'll go for the ride.
Yeah. I every little bump and movement, I
really
white knuckled, holding on. The takeoff's the worst, but if we hit any type of turbulence, I'm like, and I have to take a Xanax to get on a plane.
Wow.
And I still, like, it might knock me out for a little bit, but if there's any bit of turbulence, I'm just wide awake. ready to go.
I wonder what that. So I've got a quick funny story. Same thing happened with motion. So I get motion sickness,
Right.
And it shits me to tears because like I enjoy stuff like skydiving, roller coasters. I want to enjoy being on boats, but as soon as that ratio of like horizontal to vertical is out of whack,
Right.
I'm like meditating through it to try and just not throw it up. And it's like, I'm fully conscious that it's not a problem, but my body's just, my brain and my stomach is just going, nah, dude, you've got to get rid of your food.
Yeah.
And I told my mother-in-law that before I even met her, because they were coming to Australia to visit us.
Okay.
And they were like, we're going to go Great Barrier Reef. And I was like, all right, cool. And they go, we're going to go out and scuba dive. And I'm like, cool, you can go on your own, but I'm not, like, I get seasick.
Right.
And the seas are not like here. Like the first time I went on the water was in a cruise liner and it was 36 feet swells.
Oh my God.
So like going down just on the hallway, it was dropping that fast that it was like I was going downstairs.
Wow.
And then as it would come back up the swell, it was like the floor was getting pulled into you. And so that was my first experience with the water.
That's wild. That's wild.
And I was telling her that, and she was kind of laughing because she's like, look, Blake, seasickness it's a control freak thing, it's, you just got to learn to let go and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, in the back of my head, I'm like, I think my wife told me that she's afraid of flying. So this is kind of contradictory.
Right.
And so we go out there and then it's storming and it's like bang, bang, bang. And I go to Stays, like we vlogged the whole thing. And I remember in the video out that wasn't edited into the actual final video, but you can see me, I'm vlogging myself like just breathing through it. And I go to Stace, I'm like, I'm so angry at you. I told you this is not fun. And you see in the background, my father-in-law helping my mother-in-law come down and like she is fucking wrecked.
God. Yeah.
And she was the worst out of all of us.
See, I don't get seasick, but I think the airplane thing is a control thing. Like I love speed. I got a fast boat. I have fast cars, all kinds of crazy shit. But when I get in an airplane and I am not in control, I mean, I think that's a big part of it. And when it's moving around and bouncing, and every drop, I feel like it's going down. Really? Yeah. I just thought I would never do this, but my good buddy Jonathan Howard, he's a broker here in Florida. He owns a big company up in the Panhandle. Well, he bought an airplane this year, and it's I want to say it's the Cyrus. I could be saying that wrong, but it has a ballistics parachute on the top. So it's a 4 or 5 seater, and if something goes wrong, if there's engine failure or whatever, there's a hatch that you pull, and it launches this ballistics parachute up into the sky, and it floats the whole plane to the ground. What? So yeah, I mean, you can look it up. It's crazy. You can look up the YouTube videos and watch it. An emergency landing coming in. Yeah. And even with that, so he talked me into it. I didn't want to do it, but everything was good. We flew over to the West Coast for a car show and flew back, but I was a nervous wreck the whole time. And then once we got up in the sky, this asshole goes, if something goes wrong, I'm not even going to pull the parachute. I'm just going to glide this fucker to the ground. And I'm like, if you don't pull that parachute, I'm going to pull the fucking parachute. But, I did it. I can't say I enjoyed it and, enjoyed everyone's company in that, but I just was in complete panic mode the whole 35-minute ride to the East Coast.
Small planes are like that though. You feel everything.
Yeah.
I had another scenario like that going through it was to Arnhem Land in Australia. And I think I threw up the last 3 days worth of food on this thing. Cause it was like, again, just up and down.
Yeah.
And whereas in big planes, I don't know, I don't feel it as much, but about 3 or 4 flights ago, I think when I'm out of control, as in I have no control, right? I'm a lot more relaxed with something because I just know what I can and won't do, and like me freaking out, like fuck, I can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
That I remember once, it was like a couple of flights ago, I was just in my own zone doing something, and it's like it starts having like crazy turbulence, like it's dropping, rising, dropping, rising. I'm just like doing whatever, calm as anything.
Right.
And I'm like, I look to the side and people are grabbing each other. I'm like, oh yeah, this should be scary. But I can't explain why I didn't give a shit, but I just didn't even, I was like, all right, I just hope that they are good with their flying.
Yeah. See, the last flight I had to Arizona with my partners at the real estate company, the Xanax worked. I was knocked out cold and out of a dead sleep. We're all sitting in a row together. There's 6 of us. And just boom, I thought we hit a fucking wall. The plane just hit a terrible turbulence pocket and they could see it. Like I went into full panic attack mode because it just
So your body woke up from the Xanax.
Oh, out of a dead sleep. She said Jess Morris said I was snoring, and then she was right next to me and she was trying to like grab my arm to like, calm me down. But after it woke me up, it was bad for like seemed like an eternity. It was probably like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But it was just, the plane was just at a night flight. It was all over the sky. And I was full sweat, like just gripped, like,
fuck.
You weren't going to pry me out of that seat.
Well, it probably keeps you human.
Yeah.
Keeps you humble.
Right. So I'm going to Nashville next weekend with my 3 best friends, and they know I'm terrified of it. So the whole, pre-flight, going to the airport, walking down the terminal,
which is a horrible name for something where you're about to get into something that you're terrified about.
Yeah. And they just fuck with me the whole time. They're sending me like memes and just like, when the plane's about to take off, my one buddy will turn to me and say, he's like, sounds like the engine's misfiring. And I'll just go if the Xanax didn't knock me out yet, I go into panic mode.
Well, that's how you know they're real friends.
Yeah, no, I know.
So it starts in the airport.
It starts the morning getting
really
up.
That bad.
Like if I go, like I'm gonna go on a bender next weekend in Nashville with these guys. As soon as I land in Nashville, I'll start thinking about the flight Monday.
Shit.
Yeah, and especially if it's like I had a rough flight coming into Aspen one time with my kids, where both my kids were laying in my lap, and people were screaming, like the plane was all over the sky, and women were screaming, kids were crying. My kids were almost in tears, and kids aren't usually scared on planes. They don't realize, the fear of it. But my kids were terrified. And then everyone clapped when the pilot landed, and he came on and apologized. And he's like, yeah, that was a sketchy coming in. It was the wind coming out of the mountains. And I was like, oh my God. But that whole week, I was fucked up thinking about the flight coming back home. I considered renting a car. Yeah. Oh yeah. I considered renting a car and driving it back from Colorado with my kids because of that flight.
My mother-in-law probably would have done that.
Yeah. My mom's, I don't know if it comes from my mom, but my mom's worse than me.
Really?
Yeah.
So she just starts thinking about it 2 months prior or something?
We're going to California at the end of July for her family reunion. And she was looking for every excuse not to go to the family reunion. Because of the flight.
Wow.
That's how bad it is.
And that's a long drive. You can't really drive it either.
Right. No, I mean, it would totally take forever. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's just like, I know if I'm on a boat and someone's driving and something goes south, I can jump off the boat or I can grab the wheel or a car. If I'm going 100 miles an hour in a McLaren and someone pulls out in front of me, at least I'm giving myself the chance to react. But on an airplane, I have no control.
You got nothing.
Yeah.
Maybe you should just learn how to skydive and have like a spare oxygen mask and a chute.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
Just get some Navy SEAL training or something.
Yeah, right. That would be funny.
Yeah. Well, my heart goes out to you because I see my mother-in-law all the time, and she's just the second it's like the takeoff. I don't know if you do these tricks, but she'll play video games or like phones. Yeah. And we have a joke. Like we'll watch and have like laughs because it's like you can tell how bad the plane is because all of a sudden she'll like start pressing more like harsh and get closer and closer and closer to
That's me.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I keep my headphones with the music blaring because I'm a motorhead and I know cars and boats and motorcycles and I know, the RPMs and stuff, but I don't know jet engines. But in my head, I feel like I can hear it, and I feel like when it's powering down or powering up, I just get in my own mind, and I feel like something or I hear little noises, and it's just it could be the air pockets and just stupid things you hear up in the sky. But in my head, it fucks with you. I'm like, oh my God, is the engine whatever. But I know, they can fly on one engine. I've
Yeah.
done a plenty of research, trust me. But
But it
and
doesn't
I've
seem to
gotten,
console you.
yeah, I've gotten a little better, a little bit better over the years. Some flights I'm able to calm down and just say, fuck it, it's out of your hands.
Yeah.
And then other fights, I get in my head a little bit more and it bothers me. But so all depends on how good the Xanax is. That's what it comes down to.
Oh man. So with to Mazuco, because one thing I've even said to my wife, I'm like, it's a good looking team as well, which is, it's really cool because it gets me excited when I see people or like brands which I'm like, oh, they've got it. And
Right.
when I think of, when I look at Marzucco, I think of Selling Tampa, for example, that Netflix show.
Right. We were approached by Netflix to do shoot a pilot.
Really? And what was
We met
considering
with
it?
a guy. We talked about it, but my partners and I talked about it, and it just really wasn't our thing. Like, we have that look and that vibe and stuff like that, but they were talking about they want to see drama, they want to see
Yeah.
conflict, they want to see someone banging someone's girlfriend, and I'm like, we're just we're not about that. Like, we're not we have a nice smooth operation, and I don't care if it gets all the publicity in the world. We're just not trying to go down that route.
Because that's the problem with reality TV shows is like there's not much reality in them.
Right.
And I mean, I've obviously got experience all of it behind the scenes and stuff, and so I can see it a mile away. And so
Right.
I'm always the guy who ruins reality TV for everyone. Because I'm just like, that's scripted, right?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? I'm like, what are the odds of this happening and then all of a sudden this then being the outcome?
Right.
And also, I think the strength of reality TV is because they're not actors, and they can't deliver it believable, which makes it more believable. It's like this counterintuitive result.
Right.
They're like, oh, I can't believe she said that, and I'm like, fuck, no one talks like that.
Yeah.
But that makes sense too, because you could probably do like a middle ground something though, not the drama part, but I've always said, like, with realtors, the cool thing is, like, humans want to snoop through houses.
Right.
We like, I don't know, auctions aren't really a thing here, are they?
Not as big as other places. They happen from time to time, more of like a county courthouse auction, on foreclosures and stuff like that, or an estate auction, but not as big as what you would think in other parts of the country or other parts of the world.
Yeah, because in Australia, selling off market almost never happens, especially in Sydney.
Right.
So they'll always do auctions, and there'll be 50, 60 people there.
Right.
2 bidders, 3 bidders maybe.
Right.
Because everyone just likes to look. And I've always said, like, the cool thing would be like to have the realtor going through and showing how the experience around the house would be, versus just the house.
Right.
Because even where we live right now, it's a 10-minute walk from the beach. Super close.
That's awesome.
But it's so inconvenient to live there.
Yeah.
To the point where my father-in-law is considering just selling it. And, like, it's their vacation home, but he's just like, even as a vacation home, he's like, living by the beach is so inconvenient.
Traffic, it's busy, it's just a lot of people.
Yeah, that Bonita Beach Road.
Right.
It's you in busy season, because I've only had, again, 12 months here. So
Right.
during winter, that road, which is about usually 10 minutes, it could become like 30, 40.
Yeah.
And so you would be driving away and be like, you know what? Let's find something to do for the next 6 hours.
Right.
Because I'm not driving back home.
Right. No, I agree. And that's how US 41 is. And anywhere west of 75 on Bonita Beach is just a nightmare in season. Out of season, it's not too bad.
Yeah. So how long have you been doing real estate for?
I got licensed in 2015. So I've been in the bar business with my dad for almost 15 years now. So born and raised in Naples. My dad was a janitor at a Catholic school. My brother and sister and I went there, grew up super poor. My dad and I lived in a bedroom the size of this for about 12 years. And he owned a bar in Pennsylvania with his dad in the 70s. He always said he was going to open another bar. So he was working as a janitor. He was building spec homes on the side. Both my uncles are general contractors, and the market took a shit. And so we opened Zucchi's Sports Pub in 2008. And my dad and I and my brother, I have an older brother, older sister. So we were doing that. The bar took off. We opened a second location. Got back into building and flipping houses. And for years, he would tell me, get your license, so we can keep everything in-house and not have to pay realtors and search around, whatever. So finally I did in 2015. And, just being from here, being lucky, being blessed, having the bar, knowing a lot of people, my family knows a lot of people. I just got really busy at real estate. And I was with a brokerage. I had no intentions of opening a brokerage. I was happy running the bar and selling real estate on the side. We were building houses. And the broker I was with merged with another company. And they completely changed everyone's commission splits overnight. And I had just recruited like 4 or 5 of my good friends, and they were looking at me like an asshole. Like, did you know this was going to happen? Nobody had any clue. So we went from 100% commission to like 70-30 overnight. And everyone was looking at me like I need to open my own brokerage. And I was like, hold up. I don't want to, I want to just be an agent and do my own thing. But I got kind of talked into it, but I wasn't even a broker yet. So I went to my best friend, Jim, and his mom has been a broker for 25 years in Naples. Never really used it, but always renewed it. So she was my managing broker for like the first year and a half, almost 2 years of incorporating Marzucco Real Estate. I wasn't even the broker. And then eventually I got my broker's license. And by that time we were in that little office with like maybe 30, 35 agents. And I was kind of at like the turning point. Like I was like, well, people are asking me left and right to join. I'm not in favor of this office. I feel like it's not appealing. It's in an industrial park. It's super small. So I kind of went to one of my best friends and mentor, Ben Flesher. He's the CEO of Pure, the stevia company. So he's in like Whole Foods, Publix, all that. And
it's everywhere.
Yeah, I get a lot of advice from him. And he's like, you need to open a badass office, design it as modern and trendy as you can, and make it appealing for the younger generation and whoever, but make it be that super, culture, fun, just, cool office to come into every day. And so I took the chance, rented, a big office where we're at now, designed it really cool. And that was about 2 months before COVID hit.
Oh shit.
And I was like, well, fuck, because nobody knew what was going to happen. I personally thought it was going to kill the market. Well, it did the opposite. I had just sold my own house. I moved in with my dad because I was too scared to buy another house because COVID just hit. He's like, just move in with us for a few months. And then I rented this big office but it was the right move. We went from 35, 40 agents and before COVID to almost 400 agents now.
Yeah.
And
that's crazy growth.
Yeah. And, we're 100%, so we don't have a commission split. And agents like that, but not traditionally 100% brokerages kind of have a bad rep. If you join 100% brokerage, they think you're never going to get any help. You're not going to get any training. Well, I gave up selling to run the brokerage and manage and help and train. And I have 5 partners now and they all help me. And I have 2 broker associates, and we're like the opposite of what the traditional 100% brokerage is. We train, we overtrain, we mentor, we're available 24/7 for the agents, and that's what they like. And that's, what I can attribute to our growth.
Yeah.
And we have that good look. We don't particularly try to recruit the best looking agents. It kind of just happens. It's like a known joke around town. People give me shit about it all the time. But it's just is what it is. And, to me, real estate, the core of real estate is all who you know. It's not what you know, it's who you know. And I'm a firm believer in that. And that's kind of how we, push our training, and we have a lot of new agents, and that's what we're about is helping agents get ahead.
Yeah, because you guys do. I've noticed you guys do training twice a week. Sorry. In that, what is it you typically are training them with, and also, actually start with that question.
Yeah, so we do actually 4 times a week now. Monday in Lake City, Tuesday in Tampa, Wednesday in the Cape, and Thursday in Naples.
Oh, wow.
And all 4 offices could be a different training. I have a managing partner in all 4 offices, and they're an equity partner, and every week it's different. Like this week is our beach party, so we're doing no trainings. We're incorporating all in one. But like last week, it could be listing agreements. Next week, it could be our attorney, David Jed, coming in and talking about the FAR-BAR contract versus the NABOR contract. 2 weeks ago, it was Lauren Maxwell, our in-house lender. So she came in and talked about...
From Maxwell Mortgages?
Maxwell Mortgage, yeah. So I'm partnered with Jed Law, Heights Title is the same thing, and Lauren Maxwell from Maxwell Mortgage. And we co-brand together. We do a lot of events together. We're doing the beach party tomorrow all together. And she comes in a lot and does trainings. The last one was about the Hometown Heroes, the new program DeSantis is doing for support for first-time home buyers.
Okay, yep.
Firefighters, paramedics, first responders, veterans, so on. So every week it's different. But everything we provide in our training is all geared towards helping agents grow their business.
Yeah.
Very little of it is the systems and the tools and the contracts and stuff like that. Like that's, to me, in real estate is all secondary. You can hire a transaction coordinator to do all that for you. But what you can't teach people is how to talk to people and how to build your brand. And you can, but some of that has to be naturally instilled in them, and you have to be a people person. I could rattle off some of the top agents in Naples that aren't with, our brokerage. And, what I can say is that they're incredible with people, and people like them and trust them. And, I think that's a big thing in real estate.
Yeah. And you're right. It's a hard thing to teach.
You can't teach it.
I've tried it with past staff, and I'm like, oh, no, it doesn't happen.
Right. You cannot, to create a relationship and get people to know you, like you, and trust you, you can't teach it. You can try, but a lot of that has to, be naturally instilled in them. Yeah.
And so what's the that thing you just mentioned about DeSantis with the first home buyer thing? I haven't heard about that.
It's for Hometown Heroes. I don't have all the factual numbers on it, but I can send that to you later. But it's more so a program for the state of Florida to help out first-time home buyers on the first responder side.
Okay.
With closing costs. So, what people typically don't know that are uneducated about buying a home, it's typically 3 to 4% of the purchase price are in your closing costs with the mortgage and title and stuff like that. So what it is a credit towards their closing costs to help them out.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
That can usually turn a lot of people off with buying. In a stale market prior to COVID, the sellers would, you would submit an offer. A buyer would submit an offer, and in that offer, they would be asking the seller to contribute 2 or 3% of the purchase price towards the buyer's closing costs. Well, the market got so hot and shifted that there was not a lot of that going on, if any at all. And then now the state of Florida and DeSantis passed this bill to help first responders and veterans with their closing costs.
Yeah, that would probably be similar then, because we have in Australia, it's called stamp duty. Do you have that here, or is that just more closing costs? It's probably the same thing.
Yeah, it's very, stings. Very similar.
It stings.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's because I remember the stamp duty for one of I think my sister's apartment was something like an additional $20,000.
That sounds about right. Yeah, here it would be similar to doc stamps on the deed of the home and the title insurance and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's probably the same.
Yeah,
that's because I'm looking at the moment like we're looking to flip homes in Michigan, actually.
Okay.
There's a guy back in Australia who does it because he used to work in Michigan, around Detroit area, and then over the last decade he's just become really, really good at flipping homes.
Right.
And that's when I first noticed, like, even with the hard money aspect, I was like, all right, here's my budget, and then like went and submitted to the hard money, got approved, but then they're like, yeah, there's also this fee, that fee, that fee. I'm like, fuck, that puts me just out of budget.
Right.
So now I have to learn all those other things.
Yeah.
It's tricky. Do you have like things where you could educate buyers?
We do, yeah. So a lot of our classes, probably like once every 3 months, we'll do like a class not just for agents, but for the whole community. And it's like exactly what you said, like an educational class for buyers to let them know the process and, if they want to get into flipping homes, how to get, a mortgage, how to get the financing to do it if they don't have their own capital. So yeah, we do, definitely.
Yeah. And so with flipping homes in Florida, because one of my friends does it here, and it seems like right now a lot of people are hesitant, but what do you see any areas in particular that are good in terms of growth of like with flipping?
Well, right now, to be honest, there's not too many good deals out there. My dad and I have really got pretty quiet with that at the start of COVID. A lot of people have. You might catch something under the radar off market and get lucky. We'll see what happens with this market. We'll see what happens with people's mortgages. But flipping came very popular after 2008, 2007. It became like a fad. It became like a social media thing. The HD TV shows and stuff like that, and the shows on, reality shows about flipping and stuff like that. But then again, how you said earlier about reality shows, when I'm looking at the purchase price,
were just in the nick of time.
Right. It's just it's never that easy, and the profit's never that great. Yes, it can be, but it became, in my opinion, it became a fad. Everyone wants to be a flipper. Everyone wants to be a wholesaler and stuff like that. But it was a lot easier after 2008 because the market nationwide was flooded with good deals and foreclosures and REOs and stuff like that. But what we got to remember is this, even if this downturn's a little bit coming up, which it probably will, it's nothing like 2008, 2009. There was a lot of mortgage fraud, a lot of, ninja loans. Someone making 40 grand a year owned 3 rental properties. Mathematically, that just doesn't make sense. This time around, Florida was inundated with cash, and even if people were mortgaging a property, they were putting 30, 40, 50, 60% down on their mortgage. So they were very cash heavy into the mortgage. So this is a totally different ball game. And I personally think Southwest Florida was way behind. So I think people sitting around waiting for these flips, like it's going to be another 2008. Just my opinion, I don't think that's going to happen again.
Yeah, it's a completely different market. And also I heard that, venture funds or...
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. I'm blanking what they call like hedge funds. Sorry. Yeah. Hedge funds have been buying a lot of single family homes.
Right.
Is that true, or is that like...
It is. I heard, I'm drawing a blank on the hedge fund. It's like, I want to say like Blackwell or Black Diamond or something. It's one of the biggest ones in the world. I heard they bought thousands of homes. Zillow bought thousands of homes.
Didn't Zillow tank that idea though?
Yeah, they lost $500 million. So,
pocket change.
Yeah, so that's, I don't know. I feel like people get overextended, and they think that homes are so guaranteed, and the real estate market is so guaranteed. And at the end of the day, it's not. It's probably the most conservative investment you can make. To a certain extent, but buying thousands of homes like that, I don't really get that when these hedge funds do that.
Yeah, with because it's a completely different ball game over here compared to Australia.
Right.
Buying a rental home can be good, but it can also be. Again, when you're buying a home, and if I'm going to find a $500,000 home, I have to look 5-6 hours out of Sydney.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah,
it's wild.
Because I've heard there's like tax deduction benefits, and that would be like the biggest draw card for people with rentals. It's something like you can depreciate across 29 years or something.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into that, and actually, because I'm not a CPA, I'm not really allowed to talk about that, anything tax related. But you're on the right track.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's with the depreciation and stuff, it's a whole formula. But that's why a lot of the hedge funds, and that's the only justifiable reason would think that they buy a lot of homes like that.
Yeah.
Because they have money, working against other capital and depreciation and stuff, and I think it all balances out.
Yeah.
But that's beyond my pay scale. My dad and I have 9 rental houses, and that's about as far as we got. So to understand why they buy thousands and why Zillow acquired, thousands in that whole program, they did 90% sure it didn't work out.
Yeah.
And I saw just yesterday some big real estate companies were doing some layoffs.
Really?
Yeah.
For the first time in a while.
Mm-hmm. Because it went so hard so fast, and they hired and they had to, sustain the growth because COVID was so wild and with the real estate market all over. But now it's cooling off a little bit, and here they are with these big salaries going out to these people, and it was I'm not going to mention any names, but it was on a pretty big news network yesterday.
Yeah. Okay.
So
is inventory starting to increase
a little
now?
bit? Yeah. I mean, Southwest Florida is still super desirable. Where you had 20 people lined up to buy a home, now you might only have 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And a lot of people gave up the fight too during COVID because they got so sick of being beat out with cash or,
Well, houses were selling in like days.
I mean, it was crazy. And, a lot of people got discouraged and said, I'll just wait till it cools off a little bit. Now those people are starting to come out of the woodwork again. And, you have a lot of first-time home buyers and families that have FHA loans and conventional loans. And then you have a family that sold a $1.4 million townhome in New York City. And then they came here and pay cash for a $650,000 home or $800,000 home.
Yeah.
So those other people had no chance.
Yeah. It seemed to be a lot of cash purchases.
A ton of them.
The last 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Which is great. It's great for Florida. I'm not worried about any other state but Florida.
Yeah.
I'm not licensed anywhere else. And, I think we have an incredible governor, and, I think we're heading in the right direction. So.
Isn't it funny looking back now where everyone was like, when he first opened it back up, everyone's like, he's got the death of people on his, like blood on his hands.
Oh,
and
man.
like, it was like this cognitive dissonance of the whole ongoing, like, well, just you wait and see. And like that wait and see never came. Then even a year into it, it was still that, that cognitive dissonance of, well, it's coming. We're going to stay locked up everywhere else, but it's coming.
Yeah,
and it paid off.
I never shut down any of the offices. I never enforced masks, and we have probably the friendliest, most diversified brokerage in town, and a lot of Latin people, a lot of European people. Everyone's always hugging and kissing and saying hi to each other. We've had like 15 people get COVID, and nobody was seriously ill from it. And we didn't social distance at all. Like we had agents leave because they didn't like our practices. But I can't, as the broker and owner of the company, when I have agents paying $100 to $150 a month to hang their license to utilize an office, and they're paying for that space, I can't shut the doors on them. I can't, that's their office. And we got so busy during COVID that, we were working, and where other brokerages and as a ton of other companies shut down and went from working from home. And I'm not saying people didn't get sick and die, but I'm just saying I think a lot of it was political and bullshit.
Yeah, it definitely became that. And like you could see that the last 2 years was so, I guess it was like a lot of shit sort of came to the surface where it was. You could tell me like, all right, what's the political stance of that state or that city? And I can tell you what the regulations are going to be. Like it really became a right versus left thing. And Australia was the same. Like Australia was, I didn't realize how left it is. And like, I'm not anti-left. I'm like, middle would be great.
Right.
But I didn't realize, everything was just fear-based around COVID.
Yeah.
And that's why, we got to 0 cases for months.
Right.
And we were open when the rest of the world was shut, except Florida.
You control people with fear.
Yeah.
It's the easiest way.
I think though as well, it's just more like it was this ecosystem of problems. The news makes money from whatever, like their only incentive is to whatever's going to make people click or watch, we'll push it out there.
Yep.
And that's our responsibility to our investors, ourselves, so we keep our jobs, et cetera, et cetera. But then you've got that vicious cycle where it's like, well, we'll feed them this, and then people get scared, and you know, we just keep feeding them that, and it's not our fault. We're just reporting the news,
right?
And that's at least what we saw in Australia. It was when we got down to 0 cases. That's when I started saying to Stacey, "I'm like, this is a problem because now we really have created a boogeyman, and." I go, the second that shit starts not even hitting the fan, it can just get if we get to 100 cases a day, because people were saying shit like 1 case is one too many. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And yeah, that happened, that crazy lockdown that everyone saw, that happened 3 weeks after Stace and I moved here.
Jeez.
We timed it so
You
good.
got lucky.
Yeah.
Got really lucky.
Yeah. And I mean, we moved to obviously, country of COVID in Florida, and that's when I was like, oh fuck, this is a lot of bullshit on the news. Like once you're in there, the news makes it out like people are just dropping on the streets.
Yeah, no, we're out partying on boats here, and groups of thousands together. Alfie Oaks and Naples is, having a club every Friday and Saturday night with probably 1,000, 2,000 people coming through, and where's everyone dropping like flies? Like, it's just, I don't know. In my opinion, the whole thing was bullshit and political.
Well, day 6, I went to the Logan Paul Mayweather fight. So I'm in a stadium.
Hell
and,
yeah.
like, Stace and I took masks because we're still like a little bit like, is this safe?
Yeah.
We're like, we'll take it and we'll put it on when we get there. We get there, we're like, nah.
Yeah. I mean, you're healthy. I'm sure your wife is healthy. And, I don't know. I think your immune system is the best form of defense.
Yeah. Well, I had monoclonal antibodies too. That was about a month before the government put a restriction on it.
Wow.
I kicked COVID in 24 hours.
Yeah. I had no smell and no taste and a headache for like 2 weeks.
You had the no smell, no taste. What was that like?
I mean, it was different for sure. What my title rep still doesn't have smell or taste, and she had it like a year ago.
Really?
Yeah. And I don't know. It was just weird. I mean, that's how I knew I had it. And I took an at-home test, I think, and tested positive. I never went to the doctor or anything, never got prescribed anything. My Uncle John got pretty sick from it in Naples and honestly came pretty close. So I know it's a real thing, but I think they just used it to push so many different things, financially, politically, everything. It was all, like you said, one big ecosystem, and it wasn't done the right way, in my opinion.
Yeah. And it is funny how quickly people are now, like Australia got slapped in the face because they basically forced everyone to get vaccinated. New South Wales got to like 95% vaccinated, like crazy high. And then that was like during the lockdowns. Then they slowly started opening up the restrictions, minimizing the restrictions. And then that was the natural curve started coming back down again. Right. And that's when they were like, see, like it's proof that the vaccine minimizes the spread. Right. 5-6 weeks later, like COVID just came and slapped them because they opened up a little bit from international people. Right. If you watch the graph, it's like a vertical line. It goes up to like 60,000 a day, which our population is a fifth of Florida. Right. And we had 10,000 cases a day more than Florida's worst day. Wow. And that was wild. It was funny because the whole rhetoric went from one case too many and like the vaccine's our savior to, well, we just need to learn to live with it. Yeah. And I was like, thank God I was kind of relieved in a way.
Right. I mean,
because they needed that.
The flu just went through half the people I know in Naples within the last month.
Yeah. It's made a reoccurrence.
Right. And, it's just going to happen. And, you just gotta learn to evolve with it. I mean, disease is never going to go away. These things are always going to come about. But I just think the whole thing was just pushed the wrong way.
It was a slippery slope.
Yeah. So you like boxing, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say I saw you sparring. Well, it was like a throwback.
Yeah, that was a few years ago.
Oh, really? Do you still spar?
I haven't. I mean, I got a bag in my garage, but I haven't. I don't think I've sparred since that night. But
oh, really? Dude, we got to.
Yeah, I have four amateur MMA fights. And
really?
One sanctioned. And that was at the Immokalee Casino back in 2013 or 14 was my last fight. And my kneecap popped out in the second round. So I got a video of it. I'll have to show you after.
Yeah.
But it's, yeah, I mean, I never considered myself good or anything. I just, kind of got into it years ago. And my best friend is a heavyweight pro fighter, MMA fighter. And so, kind of being around him and some other guys, I just said, well, I'll take an amateur fight. And then I did one, then I did two. And I liked it. I'm the most easygoing person in the world. Like, I don't get mad. And even walking in the cage, I was, terrified in every fight. I think if anyone tells you you're not scared, then they're lying. And I wouldn't even be aggressive until I got hit a couple times. Like I had to physically, fight or flight, get hit and be like, oh fuck, if I don't do something, I'm going to get hurt. And that's when you gotta, turn it on a little bit.
Yeah. But, so can you I guess you do jujitsu?
I did a little bit. I always did no-gi. Never got into the belts and stuff like that in the tournaments. I just strictly did it to know a little bit to take a fight. Did some Muay Thai. Actually trained with some pretty badass people. I've trained with Cosmo Alexander. He's the #1 Thai fighter in the world. I mean, he knocked out Sage Northcott in an MMA fight in like 10 seconds.
Oh shit.
If you look that video up, he broke like 17 bones in his face on one punch. But Mike King lived in Naples for a while. He cornered me in most of my fights. Crafton Wallace, I think had 3 or 4 fights in the UFC. He's in Naples. So I was very fortunate to train with some pretty badass guys, but I had no idea what I was doing. I just trained with them and didn't take it too serious. I just kind of wanted to know a little bit about everything just to protect myself.
Yeah.
And then, in my opinion, a fight can go either way. In MMA, if you just protect yourself and just try to brawl it out.
Well, it just takes one hit
that
can level anyone out. Because the reason I don't know what the reason was why you got into it, but I got into it because it was when shit got serious with my wife, before she was my wife, where I was like, oh, I'm going to have a family one day. It was like the what if, like I need to be able to protect myself.
Right.
And, I don't want to be a pussy.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's funny though, because I say this to everyone, I'm like, everyone should learn to fight. And I think less people would fight.
Right.
Because I noticed my confidence changed, how I talk to people changed, how I walk around changed. It was just such a powerful thing to learn. And I know boxing, I've got a very little bit of Muay Thai and a tiny, I wouldn't even count the Jujitsu. But yeah, just that difference of all right, at least I've got enough of a fighting chance to, and also I'm fast, so I just need to be able to stop the person for a second and bolt, versus sort of freaking out.
I agree. I mean, I think jiu-jitsu, I had my girls into Muay Thai with Crafton for a little bit. My little one loves it. My older one wasn't too interested, but I think self-defense and confidence and knowing and in assessing the situation is key. Like, I'm not a hothead. If I was out at a bar with a girl and a guy made a comment to her, I'd be like, cool, man, thanks.
Yeah.
I'm with her, not you.
Because you know what it's like to get hit and hit.
Right.
And you don't want that.
Yeah, exactly. And, people that find out I do MMA, they're like, oh, you must be a badass. I'm like, actually,
it's such a misconception.
I avoid confrontation at all costs. Like, can I defend myself? Yeah, and I will, and my kids and my family, but I go the other way.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to hit anybody, and I also don't want to get hit. So, but will I defend myself? Yes. And do I know how to do it and take it to the next level? Yeah, I can, but I don't want to.
Yeah.
But I think it's great for anybody, like you said. I mean, and then not to mess with the guy with the cauliflower ear. If you see somebody in public that has the ears messed up.
Shake their hand and walk away.
Yeah, I'm not going to screw with that guy. But yeah, I love it though. I love watching it. Big fan of McGregor, John Jones. I'm not too I'm a big Tyson fan, but I never really got into boxing, stuff like that.
Boxing is so different.
Yeah.
But have you heard the guy? What's his name? Timothy Larkin.
Can't say I have.
So, having girls, I would highly recommend read his book.
Yeah.
He's got a book that's called When Violence is the Answer. And I remember reading it and I go to Stace, I'm like, Sienna's doing this.
Right.
You're doing this. Luckily in Southwest Florida, it's fairly, I think it's a very safe area considering,
right.
The rest of America. But he goes into the reality of self-defense. So like he looks at MMA. MMA has very few rules, but all those rules are basically rules that don't allow the sort of kill spots. You can't go for the eyes, you can't go for the mouth, you can't, you can't break people's knees, kick them certain ways. He looks at that and then goes, I'm going to teach people how to do that stuff because I need to teach women that are like, 130 pounds to overpower a 200-pound guy. And the stories he has of the people he's taught are insane. There's like one that really stuck with me. He does these courses as well, like 2-day courses.
Right. And
his friend was in the area and he took his daughter, who was 16 at the time. And she begrudgingly did it. She didn't really want to be there. She paid enough of attention to get what she needed.
Right.
And then went on her way. 4 years later, she walks in with her two younger sisters. And she's like, do you remember? He's like, yeah, I remember you. And she goes, oh, so you didn't hear? And he's like, no. And so she... 3 years later, when she was 19, she was at a college, bottom level dorm with her and her friend. They'd sleep with the window open or at least unlocked just for some fresh air. And she had like one of those efficient beds where it's like the desk underneath and the bed's elevated.
Right.
So her friend every single Tuesday and Thursday would go and stay at her boyfriend's dorm. And so one Thursday night, she wakes up and there's this guy on top of her. And she goes, I just heard your voice straight away in my head.
Right.
And this is, again, 3 years after. Yeah. And automatically her brain, instead of going like freak out, because obviously most women will be like, screaming. And like, that's what is going to just allow him to, overpower him. So instead she was like, all right, he is on top of the covers. He's sitting up on me. He's going to have to come forward into me and to take the covers off me. And so she waited. He leans forward. She wraps around his neck, sticks her thumb in his eye, straight to the second knuckle. That's what they teach. So you burst the retina and the optical nerve. And then she's holding on to him. So she's like 120 pounds, just holding on to this guy and not letting him go. When you burst the optical nerve in one eye, you go blind temporarily in the other.
Wow. And
so she's holding on and, during the struggle, they fall off the bed. And by luck, her elbow somehow, like she comes loose and her elbow hits him in the throat and she hears a crack. He goes limp. She just runs out. Then by the time security got in, he was already asphyxiated out and dead.
Wow.
They found out that this was the 6th time this guy had either raped or attempted to rape. And, he'd done the classical thing of like scoping. He knew their rhythm and all that sort of stuff. But that's the type, like that was just one story of so many stories of girls that size. And that he the way he taught it all, and the way he teaches it, he never glamorizes it. He goes, this is disgusting. And he goes, I get, in an ideal world, most people look at the victim like, oh, she never should have been raped. And he goes, I fucking agree.
Yeah.
But those people are out there, so let's learn from what he did and how he figured it out and reverse engineer it.
Right.
But yeah, he teaches real self-defense stuff so that, and all the weak spots. Like another one, this girl had a 200-pound guy grab her from behind. She corkscrewed out, elbowed him in the face, so he was stunned for a second. Most women would run. She turns around, implodes his knee from the side, and he just buckles over and he can't move.
Yeah.
And then she just casually calls the cops. And the cops are like she had a gun in her handbag. He waited for her to put the handbag in the car before he grabbed her. And the cops are like, you could have shot him. She goes, he wasn't moving anywhere. Like this little tiny girl has overpowered a massive guy.
It's crucial to know. Like, I totally agree with all that. And I mean, I've stepped into a gym when I first got into it and doing jits, and I would, go to roll with a guy that was like smaller than me, and in my head I'd be like, oh, I think I can overpower this guy. The next thing you know, you're in a fucking arm bar, or
like, how'd I get here?
Yeah, you're in a rear naked choke, and you're struggling for your life to breathe. So, no, I totally agree with self-defense and knowing, especially with girls. And I got them at home, hitting the bag, hitting my hands and stuff like that. I don't have mats to roll around with, but they're aggressive. Like, I know they can. I had a little incident 2 weeks ago. A mom called me. My 12-year-old was spending the night at someone's house, and they were at the community pool, and the mom was on working out, and her daughter came knocking on the window like, you need to come outside right now. And the mom called me and said, we had a little bit of an incident. I guess my daughter was in the pool with her friends, and then some older girls were making fun of her friends and got one of the girls to cry. So my daughter, my little one's got a big mouth, and she ran her mouth in defense. And then when she got out of the pool and was like walking away somewhere, these two girls cornered her. And the mom went outside and was, seeing what the heck was going on. And she's like, your daughter was calling them both out. Like, she took her stance, and she's like, she took a fight stance and put her hands up and was saying to both of them to come. And she's like, I thought they were going to kill her. I'm like, well,
probably not.
I'm like, she would have been fine. I'm like, she knows, I mean, she can throw hands. Like, she knows combos and everything. But so I teach them, like, I'm not a jujitsu master. I think jujitsu is the best thing.
It's a superpower, apparently.
Yeah. I mean, the littlest guy can, or anyone can, detain anybody, which is incredible. And, and to getting back to, fighting and stuff like that, my buddy Mike King would always say everyone wants to be a fighter until they get hit.
Yeah.
And that's just a saying, a lot of people run their mouths. There's a lot of people, especially in our town, that could use a hit to the mouth.
Yeah.
Because they've never been punched in the face. And that's, until you've been punched in the face, you learn not to run your mouth.
Yeah. Well, even like when I spar with my friends, like, we spar and it's light. So there's no headgear, nothing, but also our goal is not like, it's not 100% to the head, because I'm just like, this is meant to be fun, but you're learning, like, I don't want to cause brain damage.
Yeah.
So it's like the rules are 100% to the body, 20% to the head. And the thing with 20% is you have to move a little bit slower, which means you have to actually be better, because, you have to really maneuver the person to tap them. But even the tap through a 16-ounce glove, your world rocks.
Yeah.
Like, I remember my friend back home, he's been boxing for years. Like, he's the one that's taught me, and he's fucking... that he's boxing you at like 30%. It's like, it's sort of like a cat playing with a mouse. And the second my wife would get the camera up, he would look at it, smile, bang, bang, bang. I just drop. I'm like, fuck you, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I mean, I've sparred guys like that too, and it's just incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been through some shit sparring and probably did it the wrong way. Like a week or two before a fight, I would go in with these guys, and we called it like the Lion's Den, and you wore MMA gloves, no headgear, and every minute or minute and a half, a fresh guy would come in on you. And you'd do that for about 10 minutes. So you would just get the shit kicked out of you for 10 minutes. And the Lion's Den, after the Lion's Den, my face was more beat up than the actual fights. Getting ready for a fight is the worst part. The actual fight, your adrenaline's flowing so hard, and usually don't feel anything until the next day. But getting ready for the fight and the training and all the sparring and getting beat up is to me worse than the actual fight.
Yeah. Okay.
But no, it's my body can't handle it anymore, but I loved it when I was doing it.
Yeah. There's something so primal about it too.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that was when I started learning, I said to Stace, I'm like, it made me just think of the movie Fight Club.
Yeah.
You know, like like the guys that are forever just being suppressed by themselves in society or whatever you want to say. But then once they enter that primal like that primal energy of like the men just want to hit shit.
Right.
I don't know why we want to, but it's like there's nothing better than hitting shit.
I agree. I agree. I love hitting the heavy bag. I'm not too big into speed bags because I'm not a boxer, but
what are the purpose of those?
Just hand-eye coordination and momentum and flow. And, I've never could get one going. I've tried. I've done it, would get it going for like 10 seconds, but those guys are just incredible. My buddy Jimbo can get it going like no other, but it's just and keeping your hands up, endurance. But
because they're always that high too.
Yeah, you don't see MMA guys doing that. That's just a boxing thing. But and just like for flow and boxing is so coordinated and and they try to make MMA that way. But I feel like MMA, the professionals come into it with a game plan. But these guys are so freaking athletic now. A guy might come in as a southpaw and have a jujitsu background, but the guy could have been training with Cosmo for the last 6 months in Muay Thai, and he's coming in like a freaking professional kickboxer. Yeah. So I'm a firm believer in you can't have a plan, but I think boxing is a little more coordinated and the combos are a little bit more educated and stuff like that because there's no kicking or ground game involved. Yeah. But I'm pretty sure that's, the flow of a speed bag and, stuff like that. But I believe it's the endurance aspect too and keeping your hands up for long periods of times.
It's different cardio.
Oh, yeah.
Like I've got very good cardio, but I remember when I first started, like 30 seconds.
It's an eternity.
I'm gassed.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's just different. But then you go for a run and it's like it's completely different again. And then you got skipping seems to be probably the closest in a way. But like you get confident hitting pads or hitting the bag the second you get then in front of someone else. Like your brain's just blacking out, doesn't know what's going on, and all of a sudden you're gassed in 13 seconds. Yeah,
it's an in a fight. It's called an adrenaline dump.
Yeah.
And it's it happened to me in one or two of them where I was, kind of doing some ground and pound and trying to finish the fight. And then my last fight, the bell rang. I was on top of the guy hitting him with hammer fists. And I'll show you the video. But and then the bell rang and the ref didn't stop the fight before the bell. So I had to go into the fucking second round. And then all that adrenaline and energy left me in between those rounds, and then the second round started and I just
cooked.
I was done because I was trying to finish the fight. But an adrenaline dump is a real thing.
Yeah.
And your heart rate got so high, and then you feel like you have nothing. Thank God my kneecap popped out like 10 seconds into that round and had to stop the fight because I was cooked. Was
that from like a misstep or was it?
No, I was grappling in a cage about 6 months before that, and a guy tied me up pretty good and it popped out. And Kraft and Wallace, the guy that owns the gym, came in the cage and just popped it back in. And I never had surgery. In order for your kneecap to dislocate, you have to tear your medial patella ligament. And if you don't ever get it repaired, it will continue to pop out in the wrong movement. And when the second round started, I think I just stepped the wrong way, and I tried to get the guy in double underhooks to toss him, and it just popped. And he saw it, and he immediately stopped.
Yeah.
And I had the forfeit or whatever you call it. The doctor at the casino came in the cage, popped it back in, patted me on the back, and that was my last fight. And I don't even think I've been in an altercation since. I've sparred since, but I got pretty heated about 2 months ago in St. Pete. Some of these guys whistled at my 14-year-old while we were walking down the road.
Oh, that'd set me off.
I ran them down a quarter mile and they stopped at a stoplight, and they wouldn't roll down the window. I was going to hit the guy through the window. I was snapped, absolutely snapped, because they they whistled and they said something derogative too.
Oh,
and,
shit.
You know, I don't care. Every guy's a guy, but never in my life have I ever considered hitting on someone that I even looked under the age of like 25. Like, you know, 14 versus.
You got to be careful these days. Some like illegal girls they doll themselves up, and you're like, you have to be like, it's like asking for ID. I'm like, now, if you don't look under the age of 25, like you said.
But these guys were like 40.
Oh, that's just disgusting.
Yeah, and I was fucking pissed.
Yeah.
And my girlfriend was like running after me, and she got pissed off at me. And she's like, guys are going to do that. She's like, just expect that. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I'm going to hit every one of them because no one's going to, you know, if a 16-year-old boy does it, whatever. I was 16, but not a 40-year-old man.
Yeah.
I almost smashed my fist through his window, and they pulled off because he wouldn't roll down the window. There was two of them. They wouldn't get out of the car. They had the windows down when they whistled at her and said something.
It's right back up.
Yeah, and I went right back up when I came running, but I was mad.
Yeah. It's tricky too, especially like, I mean, in Australia, guns aren't a thing. Here, it's like, I always just wonder, I'm like, fuck. You know, I feel like I'm even more laid back here because I'm just like, you know, the what if.
Right. You can't have guns in Australia?
You can, but fuck, it's hard.
Yeah.
So we had like a mass shooting back in 96.
Okay.
Where the guy, he killed 18, I think. And basically the government was just did, right, no guns, like buy back. And like, if you see the videos of the piles of guns that were bought back, it was insane. Like I forgot, because I mean, I was born 8 years prior. Right. But I never even realized, like, I was already at school then, but I didn't realize guns were, like, if you asked me a lot of people had guns my entire life, I'd be like, nah, no one really had any. Right. But then when I saw like conveyor belts of guns and the buyback, I was like, holy shit. I'm
a big gun advocate. I have a lot of guns. I have like 50 guns.
Yeah. They're fun.
Yeah. Like I hunt though. I shoot. My kids, you know, they shoot with me. We have 2 acres. We shoot at the house. And
where do you go hunting? Because I really want to go hunting.
So I have a 6,500 acre lease that I split with my good buddy Murray, and that's like about an hour and a half from here, a little north of LaBelle, Florida. And there's hogs, turkey, deer. We did a few quail hunts, but you can hunt all over Florida. I mean, you can shoot pigs just about anywhere. You know, deer and turkey got to be in season, but you know, shooting hogs is fun. Or running them down with the dogs is an experience. That's coming from Australia. I bet you would like that.
Yeah, I think. So, do the dogs catch them, or do you like sort of find them and then shoot them?
Yeah, so it's a whole process, and it's an experience. You're riding on a swamp buggy with hound dogs with tracking collars on them. And there's this device that we have, and it tracks the hounds. And then in a cage by itself, you have a catch dog, and that's usually the nastiest pit bull or bulldog you've ever seen. And you can't pet him, can't touch him. He is strictly there to catch that pig. Oh, shit. So these hound dogs might chase that pig for 30 minutes. We chased one night for an hour, and we're tracking it on the swamp buggy in the pitch black. And you might let 2 or 3 of them out, and they'll tire that pig out. When they're barking at them. It's called having it at bay. And once you're on the tracker, you see they're not moving anymore. They have that pig at bay. And once you get close enough, that the catch dog can hear him barking. And he's just foaming at the mouth to get out of that cage. And you just release him, and he hits that pig like you've never seen, and he doesn't let go. And then you come running with, 2 or 3 of your buddies. Someone grabs the pig's legs, you hog tie it, and someone usually have to like choke the pit bull out to get him to release. And you try not to get bit by the dog or hit by the pig. We usually don't kill them, only if someone is looking for one or if we are. But a lot of times we just take a picture with them and let them go.
And so it can go, so the pit bull doesn't bite it fatally or anything?
No, them things are freaking vicious. The pigs themselves, I mean, their skin's so thick, and
So I'll be honest, that sounds disgusting.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal.
Maybe I'll have to shoot a deer first before I work up to that.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal. But those pigs are meaner than anything. I mean, I have farm animals. I have 3 pigs, domestic pigs, and I have 2 goats and a duck. But
that's right. I messaged you saying my wife would be jealous because she wants goats so bad.
Well, the one Wendy is freaking annoying. So all she does is, as soon as she sees through the house in the window from 100 yards away, there's life and activity in the morning, she starts screaming for food. It's funny, their personalities, but between a domestic pig, a potbelly pig, and a wild hog, I mean, the wild hog will kill you. There's hunters that have been killed from them because they've gashed them so bad with their tusks.
Yeah. How big are they?
Shit. I mean, they can, in some states, and Texas, Arkansas, some Razorbacks can get freaking 800,000 pounds, but down here they're like, if you shoot a good pig that's over 300 pounds or 400 pounds.
I got so confused. I'm like, 800,000 pounds. I didn't realize there was a dash.
No, 800 to 1,000. Yeah, I mean,
like, that's a big fucking pig.
Yeah, there's some monsters out there. I don't know if you follow.
That in kilos? That's 450 kilos. Fuck, that is heavy. Jeez.
Yeah, there's guys in Texas that shoot them from helicopters.
I've seen that.
Yeah,
that'd be interesting.
Jesse James, I don't know if you follow him, the bike builder. He was had a TV show at one time. He builds choppers, and but now he builds custom guns because he was such a good blacksmith. But he charters a helicopter, might even be his own, and he freaking flies and just, because even here, but in a lot of states, the pigs are ruining crops. They're such a nuisance that, they're in some cases ruining people's livelihoods, and they're just multiplying, and they're rooting, and they're, they can, I play at Raptor Bay Golf Course a lot, and you can see the pig root. I mean, it's a bad problem out there, the wild pigs. And they're just little ones, but they're rooting up, it might cost $1 million to build a good green, $500,000 to $1 million when it's all said and done to manicure a green, and these pigs can come ruin it in a night.
Yeah.
So it's just, they're, I don't like shooting deer. I like deer. I think they're just a soft, gentle animal. But pigs are just, the wild pigs are I don't really feel that bad for.
The only reason I'm interested in hunting a deer is because my wife's vegan. Okay. And I get with her, I when we first met, she led with it's healthier. I'm like, it's very debatable.
Yeah.
So we've recently shifted where I'm like, lead with the ethics. No one's going to argue the ethics.
Right.
But I mean, even your own husband will argue you on the health side.
Right.
But never on the ethics. So she actually is for, because I still eat meat. And I said to her, I'm like, well, what if I hunted a deer? Then that meat would last me a lot longer. Then that only one thing is being killed, and I'm not contributing to, big factory farming, et cetera, et cetera. And she said she'd be for that.
Yeah.
She and I agree with her. She goes, I want you to see what it's like to take a life, and you might not like it. And I go, what happens if I do? Then you could have started a monster.
Then you're buying property and a crossbow and rifles.
Yeah. But that's why the deer, but I don't eat pork or bacon or anything the occasional, because your bacon's different ours. Ours is more like ham, Canadian bacon.
Right.
I think we have it like that.
Yeah.
Crispy bacon's not a thing in Australia.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I have it almost every day.
Really?
Yeah. I've been trying to
crunch. It's got a crunch to it.
I've been trying to get more into turkey bacon for health reasons, but I love bacon.
Turkey bacon?
Yeah. It's more of a processed bacon, but it's supposed to be a little bit healthier. So,
being processed?
Just the turkey versus the pork and.
Okay.
Yeah, if you go to Publix and you look, you'll see turkey bacon.
I'll have a look for it.
Yeah, it doesn't look good, but from a calorie standpoint and stuff like that, it's supposed to be a little bit better for you.
Yeah. Well, I've recently started. I mean, I dabble here and there on fruit and meat.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Well, I started following that Carnivore MD
Yeah, that's that
Yeah.
guy. He's a little intense though.
He's intense. I tried to eat the liver. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, you haven't had liver? I love liver.
I see.
It's just it's so soft.
I know, but I just couldn't. I cooked it and I tried to eat it and I just couldn't get it down.
Was it beef liver?
I think so. Yeah, it was from Publix.
Yeah, there's a place in Bonita Springs and they do it. They're like an actual little family farm.
Okay.
The only problem is they sell them in lots of 2, and it's like, and they're airtight sealed.
Right.
And so once you cut it open, I'm like, I can't eat 2 slivers of liver. Like,
Right.
I want to. So
I just didn't like the texture of it once it was cooked.
it's different. It's
Yeah.
very different. I used to eat chicken liver a lot though. And I used to have fun fucking with people.
Yeah.
Like when I was a personal trainer back in Sydney, I'd be eating it and I'd be like, dude, try this meat. It's so soft. And they'd be like, fuck, this is delicious. And they're like, yeah. And they go, why is it different? I go, oh, it's chicken liver. Like, and they'd freak out. I'm like, it was fine a second ago.
Right.
You know? Liver's it tastes irony.
Right. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's very, very heavy in iron.
Mm-hmm.
I got to get back into it though. I've just been eating a little bit more red meat than usual. I've laid off chicken.
Yeah.
Because I heard that chicken is very high in omega-6 fats, which is not good for us. Learned that in a podcast. Thanks, Rogan. And that wasn't from Carnivore MD. It was from another person where they were saying something along the way, like, you know, when you say like, what's the healthiest meal? Everyone goes like chicken, brown rice, and veggies, or broccoli. And they go, that's actually not true. And I was like, change.
I've been doing lean ground beef, broccoli, and brown rice every day. And I used to try to eat red meat, like have a filet or a good ribeye like once a week. And now I'm eating red meat almost every day.
Yeah, me
Mix
too.
it with some fish. Like I love fish.
Yeah, I love salmon.
My favorite.
Yeah. I've actually shifted it recently where I by accident when I first moved here, I was forgetting to eat before midday, and I've just kind of kept that going. So I don't really eat until 11:30, 12, maybe 1 sometimes, and then I'll eat, you know, just eggs and some fruit and stuff like that, and then I'll snack the entire time, and then I'll have like a big ass meal before I go to sleep.
Right.
I feel so awake.
Yeah. I was doing fasting for a while and I liked it. I felt lean. I felt good, but I would get headaches. I get really bad migraines, like 1 or 2 a month. And I don't know if it's like stress related and, you know, athletic related from all my injuries and stuff. But I found that when I don't eat till like noon, and now I'm meal prepping. So the first thing I do is just grab one of my meals in the morning and I eat it. I don't care if it's 7. I don't care if it's, 6. I eat it, or I'm having eggs and bacon, and then I go into my meals for the day. But I got to eat like every 2 hours. I don't do things if I know I can't eat.
Really?
Yeah.
I wish I was like that. I was like that for a while, and then I became just like, all right, if I'm hungry, I eat, unless it gets to like 3 o'clock, and I'm like, fucking eat, dude. Like, stop everything. Because I get like rosacea and like it's like whatever. And sometimes if I have a shitload of gluten, for example, or if I drink alcohol, which very rarely happens. I did on my birthday, and I realized I'm a fucking weak alcohol person.
Me too. I don't drink a lot, but when I do, like next weekend, I'm gonna go hard.
Yeah,
and
because America makes you drink. You drink so strong here.
Right.
Australia, that's even regulated. But it sounds bad at first, but it's like I like knowing that. All right, if I've bought a rum and coke,
right,
it's strictly 1 ounce. Like our responsible serving of alcohol is real strict.
Right.
But I like that because it's like, okay, I know I can have 2 drinks in the first hour and be okay to drive. So you can sort of be a bit careful.
Right.
Whereas here, like we went to the putt golf, the Tiger Woods one.
Pop stroke.
That's it. We went there for my birthday. I had my other friend who was there, Blake, who's also called Blake. He goes, yeah, let's get a Bacardi and pineapple. I was like, wow, okay, that's a little bit gay, but cool, let's go. I was like, do it. And it came out, and I swear it was Bacardi and pineapple. And I was just like we both sipped it. I'm like, Jesus.
Yeah.
And even from that one drink, I go to Stace. I'm like, oh, you're driving to the restaurant. No fucking chance. And like,
That's how I am.
Yeah.
I mean, I enjoy a good time, but then again, it comes back to the headaches. Like I can have one drink and I can get a buzz from it. And if I don't continue drinking, or if I quit, if I just stop after that one drink, I'll get a fucking migraine.
Yeah.
So then it just makes the rest of the time miserable. So I got to be very careful when I drink. I'm, super sensitive to alcohol. And so I just choose not to drink most of the time. But when I go away and stuff like that, especially with my buddies, we go pretty hard. My closest group of friends that I consider like my brothers are fucking wild. Like I'm not your typical born and bred Naples kid. Like I grew up in Golden Gate. That's where my buddies are from. And we're just from a different breed of people. So.
Well, you're talking to an Aussie. Like I don't know if you've heard of half the shit that we do. This weird.
No,
like,
I know.
Football players, they're the worst.
Yeah.
Like they'd get fucked up every Monday night after the game.
Right.
And some of the stories, like, have you heard of the bubbler?
I can't say I have.
Oh. So the bubbler, it is only in football. I don't know why these guys do it, but like they'll go to the urinal and then they'll pee up, and so it looks like we call them, you call them water fountains or something.
Yeah.
We call them bubblers.
Bubblers, okay.
And so they'll pee up, and then take a sip.
Are you serious?
Like they're just fucking wild. I wasn't into football, but I knew all what they would do.
Yeah.
And they would just do weird shit where you're like, huh?
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's some crazy shit.
Like we look at your NFL players and I'm like, those guys are tame.
Yeah. No, I know. Yeah. They're in the locker room meditating before the game and listening to heavy metal, but no, drinking your own piss, that's a little bit different.
And you have to do it on the right angle and make it like a bubbler stream.
Yeah, that's not, I mean, I feel like I'm pretty fucked up in the head, but that's not something I think that would ever come across my mind to do.
And that's like probably the most G-rated story I'll probably tell on this.
Yeah.
Like, there's some other ones. The best one you should listen to, if you listen to podcasts, Flagrant, with Andrew Schultz, the comedian. He had a MMA fighter. He's an up and coming guy. He's Aussie.
Right.
And he came from a football background. And so he's just rattling out all the stories of his football days. And they're like, what the fuck? He's like, you guys are wild. I'm like, ask any Aussie about those things. And they're like, yeah, we know they exist.
Yeah. Oh, I bet.
Yeah. Well, they're always in controversies.
Right.
Like the media, again, this is where the media, like they love the controversy. Every month there's some sort of football controversy, that it's like the and it's only a league, it's not union.
Right.
The league just seems to have they keep getting smashed by the media because they're just wild boys.
Yeah.
And they're meant to be mentors. It's like, it's like when you try and not swear around your kids because you don't want them swearing. It's like they're gonna know it exists.
Right.
The kids that look at their the footballers, even if you don't tell them what they do, if they get into football, they're gonna get into that culture regardless. You're not stopping anything. You're not saving lives. Like,
especially if you're handing a 22, 23, 24-year-old a nice salary. You're talking about professional guys, right?
Yeah, but they have caps.
Okay.
So a high earner in football is like 750,000.
Yeah, but even so, I mean,
it's still great money. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, they're going to be out
not
partying.
NFL money though.
Yeah, they're going to be partying and living it up.
Yeah.
So I don't know what people expect. That's the thing that with me, I don't fucking judge anybody. I don't want anybody judging me, and we're kind of like that black sheep brokerage. I don't want to be that stand in line brokerage. We dress up when we have to, but for the most part, we're super casual. We're laid back. And a lot of people don't like me. And I could give zero fucks. Like I don't go to networking events. I'm not out there, trying to blow anyone and kiss anyone's ass to get business. I think a lot of people are fake to their core. Yeah. And everyone
that comes
knows
out
me.
real quick though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what I tell everyone, even with like the content that you put out. Because I've even had people like, oh, I shouldn't have said that on the podcast. I'm like, it's you though.
Right.
Like, fuck it. Who gives a shit?
Right.
I would rather someone know who I am. Like, again, if you land on my Instagram or my TikTok or whatever it is, I don't want you seeing some polished version
Right.
polished bullshit version. Because then when I come and speak to you, and I'm not that. It's like meeting your celebrity. You're like, oh fuck, you're shorter than I thought you were, or you're kind of skinnier and you kind of look gaunt. You kind of weird.
Right. Exactly.
You don't want that.
Right.
Like you want the opposite effect. It's like, oh shit, like you're actually really fun, or whatever it is. But it feels like there's still a lot of people that, oh yeah, I have to be this way and be that way. Most networking events I start going to, they're like, hey, just heads up how you dress and what you say. Like swearing, people don't like swearing. That's my favorite one. Within like a month of me being at whatever group it is, everyone else is swearing. Yeah, because they've been like, oh shit, we're allowed to do this. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, be you.
People like real people. They like you to be yourself. And a lot of clients, our main focus is real estate. They can pick up on that. They can pick up on someone if they're being fake, if they're trying to be something they're not. And I just don't feed into that traditional line of brokers and real estate agents. And I'm happy to admit that. Like I want to be the black sheep. I don't want to be that, I don't want to be grouped into the regular everyday society.
Yeah. It works too, because when in an attempt of becoming like everyone else, you don't, get seen.
Yeah.
And I think that's another reason for your success is that you are not part of the mold, and it's definitely, it is funny though, because every time I see like as someone else will be, because I do like with the content, it's the edit collaborator, so it appears on the other people's walls, and then I'll have like someone else follow me. I'm like, oh, realtor, oh, Mazuca. I'm like, fuck, they're everywhere. Right. You guys are like taking over Southwest Florida.
Oh, I mean, I don't know if I would go that far. I appreciate the compliment, but I mean, we'll take it. We just, show who we are and do what we do. And, we don't let, people judge us and get in the way. We're just, I tell everyone to be as real as they possibly can and just be yourself. Yeah. If something works for someone else, doesn't mean it's going to work for you. And there's a lot of facade in real estate, a lot of social media, a lot of stuff like that. And I see a lot of people that, watch one episode of Selling Sunsets and, and next thing you know, they act like they're making $1 million a year. And I just think it's funny. And I just, would call out people. I'd be like, you couldn't even sell freaking drugs at an AA meeting if it wasn't for your mom and dad. Like, a lot of people inherited a book of business and, it's just a lot of facade in Southwest Florida. And we don't want to, go down that route. We made a pretty funny parody video.
Is that the one that Lionel shot?
Yes, with the Lambos. My buddy from Detroit, actually, Detroit Dave, has a bunch of fucking toys. And I was like, Dave, could we use your cars for this shoot? And we just had fun with it and made Lionel was awesome, and we made a funny parody video, because a lot of agents nationwide, worldwide, people think you just get a real estate license and boom, you're making money. Yeah. And a lot of agents act that way. My buddy Ben that owns Pier, he calls real estate agents $100,000 millionaires. They make 50 to 100 grand a year and they act like a millionaire. And that's why I say there's just a lot of facade in real estate. And I try to stay away from it, try to stay away from the people and the networking events, and just stick to my agents and just keep my head down and just stay in my lane. Yeah. But at the same regard, there's also so many great agents in our area, not even with our brokerage, like so many cool people, so many smart people, so many agents making a ton of money. And I hate when people talk shit about real estate agents. I hate when they say everyone's a realtor. And there's 17,000 realtors in Southwest Florida. Well, where else can you get a fucking $63 certificate? And I know a ton of realtors in Naples that made over $2 million the last 2 years. So they're laughing all the way to the bank. So I hate when people say, everyone's a realtor. That's an easy profession to get into.
Yeah. I'd say it's easy to get into, but it's not easy to be good at.
Exactly.
Yeah. And because I remember when I first moved here and I met with one marketing agency, and she's like, what do you charge? And I told her what I charge. And she goes, I would love to work with, successful realtors or like construction people or stuff like that. And she's like, straight away she starts shitting on the real estate people, like, ugh, there's like 800, also she said 8,000 and they're all broken, blah blah blah. And I'm like, I don't need 8,000 clients,
Right.
you know. But that was my first experience of like how many there are here, because and when she said the numbers, I'm like, yeah, but that's every industry.
Right.
You know, like I was a personal trainer. Everyone's a fucking personal trainer.
Right.
You know, like as mean as it sounds, I was like, I remember when I was doing it, people would start up and they're like, you know, they're obese. And they're like, yeah, I'm just really passionate about fitness. And I'm like, it doesn't show.
Yeah.
You know, like it's fucking awesome that you've just become passionate about it. But
Right.
to circle that one, there was the best when I was not a personal trainer, but I was at another gym prior. One guy, one of the trainers there called Lucky, he had a kid come up to him who just got his personal trainer's certificate, and he goes, you know, I just want to get some clients, and I just want to know, like, what do I need to do? And he goes, well, the first thing is you've got to just go and look in the mirror and just ask yourself honestly, would I pay me to train me? And the kid was like, well, that's a bit mean. He goes, only if the answer is no.
Right.
I was like, fuck, like he nailed it.
Yeah.
You know?
I like that.
I think that's just...
I see him at my daughter's gym. She has a personal trainer just because my older daughter is 15 now and she doesn't listen to me. And, you know, I try to take her to the gym. But
I can't wait for that time.
Yeah. So I got her a really cool female personal trainer that she looks up to and, you know, loves the girl to death. But and she's fit as can be, you know, she's really cute and fit. But the other trainers there, I'm like, must eat pizza every night and don't even work out.
Yeah.
I'm like, how are you a PT? You're like, in my opinion, in business, and especially real estate and obviously personal training, you are your own walking billboard. Like in real estate, people want to do business with the agents that they think are superior in their field and are killing it. It's just a law of attraction. They want to work with that person. In fitness, I want to work with the most knowledgeable, you know, nutritionist and the guy that's fucking jacked because I want to be jacked. Like, I don't get it. I never got that in personal training.
Yeah.
When people are overweight and could give zero shits about their diet or meal planning and stuff like that, because you are your own walking billboard.
Yeah.
And I saw something the other day, Jeff Bezos quote, your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room.
Yeah, I like that.
And I love that. Like, and it's because it's the truth. And you know, when you're in a self-motivating and, you know, when you are your own brand, I mean, that's the truth. Like, you're a walking billboard.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I would never hire a PT person that I thought was overweight or in worse shape than myself.
Yeah.
And it's out there.
Yeah, it is weird. Like, I mean, for me to pay, I mean, I'm temporarily having a loss financially for a perceived long-term gain. And why would you pay someone that it isn't where I want to be? You know, like you should be paying the person for where you want to be. But I think some, at least in personal training, the saving grace for a lot of them was you're also a part-time psychologist, / therapist. You know, I watched some of them, and some of them did not too bad. But it was back to what you said. The people that can talk were the ones that got the clients, the ones that kept the clients. Like, I mean, a lot of my clients was base knowledge. I knew everything. Like, I knew body awareness, the psychology behind it. I'm like, all right, you're thinking this way. Like, your flight is kicking in, and therefore you're kicking your back out, and you're actually turning everything off instead of supporting you. Right. And so I'd say, like, you fight the ground or fight, and so they'd turn on that. But then on the other side, I'd be telling them fucking weird stories. Telling them about, like, I mean, my wife knows all this, so it doesn't matter about me telling. I'd be like, yeah, I went to a swingers party for the first time ever. And they're like, what the fuck? And they're like, or I'd be like, I'm going to one. And then, like, you could see the next week, all my clients, as I'd start with them, they'd be like that elephant in the room, like, how'd it go? And I'd be like, yeah, they're not as great as you think they're going to be. But, you know, just having stories as well that made people just go, fuck, I actually look forward to your session, not just because I'm going to work out, but I'm like, what the fuck did Blake do this week? Yeah. You know?
That's funny.
That's why it's funny. I'm so open with everything. But
yeah, it's the way to be.
Well, the day I met my wife, I had I went to Bali.
Okay.
And the day before, I'd been at a swingers party.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I'm talking to my mates, just like fucking like, yeah, this was happening. I'm like, it's cool, but you know, it's also like, it's how you see it. Like when you think of swingers parties, you just think of everyone looks exactly how you want them to look. Like they're all going to look like, if you're into brunettes, they're all brunettes, and
Right.
It ain't like that, bro.
Yeah, I bet.
And so that was my introduction to this girl, and she at the time she was 4 years celibate, so we're like polar opposites.
Yeah,
and
that's wild.
From that start, I was like, well, yeah, like that's who I am when I'm single, like what I at that time. But she also was like, I also wanted her to know everything about me, because honesty is like, it kneecaps anyone who might have ill intent for you.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, yeah, I just basically through time, it's like, yeah, this, or like that was like she knows stories about my ex-girlfriends, like their names and this. She goes, oh, is that, like she even has met some of my ex-girlfriends because I still talk to them.
Right.
But I'm like, I go to her, I'm like, those relationships, I will smile when I talk about them, but I'm remembering that time, not I wish I went back.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like it's the funniest relationship where it's like, it shouldn't make sense.
Right.
You know,
That's
good loving
though.
Christian family. Me, no, like nice and devout. Like, you know, don't swear in public. Me, I'm a sailor. Like,
Yeah, that's how. I mean, I come from a big Italian family, so you know, the F word's just, you know, second nature. But
it's just such a good word.
yeah, I agree.
I was talking to, you know, Sid Fernandez.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. So he was
Sid's-
on the podcast.
I love Sid.
I bumped into him 2 days ago, and he goes to me, he goes, dude, I used one of your sayings on my wife the other day. I'm like, oh, what one? He goes, my favorite one. I'm like, is it the same as my wife? He goes, yeah, the same one. So if you say something is awesome,
Right.
instead of me going like, oh, wow, I'll be like, get fucked. Like that's the favorite one for my wife. So Sid tried it on his wife the other day, and she's like, what did you say?
That's funny.
Like, what did you say? He's like, get fucked. And she's like, it's, obviously, because in America, usually get fucked is like you're telling someone, get away from me, I hate you or whatever.
Right.
Not like, oh, wow.
Right.
And she was like, I mean, it works. He goes, I think I'm adopting it.
That's funny. I can't picture Sid doing that, but it's
He's a character. We want to do like
no, he's a smart dude. I like Sid.
Yeah, we're I'm getting him on the podcast again. He'll be my first repeated guest, because we were chatting the other day and we're talking about. He goes, I just want to start a business where it's just a bunch of ripped guys, and you know they're shirtless and they do all the gardening and like the sidewalk stuff. So that the theory behind that is they'll distract the wives so the men can go to, you know, golf.
Yeah.
I'm like, I like that. And the saying will be, we'll mow your lawn, but we won't cut your grass.
It's actually pretty cool.
Now we just need to find some ripped guys.
Yeah, that's funny. That's actually really interesting.
But yeah, no, he's fantastic.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Like I said, we were doing a lot of mortgage work together in the past. I think he started his own thing now.
Yeah, he's off to something new, actually. I can't remember what it was. I've got to chat with him further because he wants to do some stuff with me. So
good.
He's a legend, though.
Yeah,
but
Sid's awesome. I like Sid because Sid is real. Like he's raw. Like he's no shits giving type of guy. Military. I wasn't in the military. My dad was in the army, but you know, Sid's just genuine, and that's what I like.
And it's like, you know what you're getting. Plus, he's just fun.
Yeah.
Like our podcast was a bunch of laughs, you know.
Right.
It's it's funny because he's definitely one of those people. The second you meet them, you feel comfortable.
Right.
And that's what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was on a Zoom call with a lady yesterday, and she's already telling me about her childhood and stuff like that. She's like, why am I telling you this? I'm like, I don't know, just because you probably know I'm not going to judge you, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But no, that's cool. And so do you have like a hiring process that you do that?
Not really. You know, we're not big recruiters, just kind of our social media following and just word of mouth. Like so many brokerages spend so much money a month calling and recruiting and text messages and stuff like that. We send out a few text messages here and there to newly licensed agents, but you know, we don't really have, because our model is more of like a membership because we don't take a commission. So we like taking on new agents. We like training them. We like molding them. And it's kind of like our challenge to, get them onto that first deal and then, show them how to do it. And, we take pride in getting them rolling. A lot of brokerages don't even take on new agents. You got to hit a certain sales quota before they'll even consider you. And a lot of brokerages spend a ton of money recruiting new agents, but we're kind of like, just go with the flow. And, like the 4 or 5 agents that joined us this week just kind of reached out organically. And I love when the big corporate companies are spending millions of dollars a year recruiting, because I joke with people and say they're my biggest recruiter, because I say, hey, to those agents, go join them, check them out for a few months. I can guarantee you it's not what they promised. And then naturally they come over to our brokerage because they see the hype and the culture and the social media and, just what we provide.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's important for sure. Because I notice, it's sounding very similar to the only parallel I've got right now is like gyms, because I've been looking at how gyms operate here compared to Australia. Australia, at least the gym I was at, it was the same deal. You paid, this is Australian dollars, but these things, I've got to get new ones. They're not that great.
They're fine. I'm just sitting up different now.
It was you'd pay, so you get 4 weeks where you get rent free, 4 weeks half rent, and then from after 8 weeks you're paying full rent, which was like $250 a week. Right. That motivates you because 1, I can charge whatever I want. Right. 2, yes, if I'm paying $250 a week and making $500, that sucks. Yeah. But if I'm paying $250 a week and I'm making $3,000, that $250 doesn't mean shit. Right. Whereas here, the gyms are all about we're going to take a percentage and it's linear. So it's like, well, hold on. I'm going to get clients and now I'm working my ass off to make $40 an hour. Right. When, I could go get a trade and not have to look for work and make the same, or at least a little bit less, because that's $40 an hour, not including the recruiting time and finding clients, etc. Right. And the turnover here is insane in those gyms. Oh my God. I haven't I see new trainers I got 4 gym memberships. Yeah. There's only 2 or 3 PTs that I've seen consistently. Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. My buddy worked at LA Fitness during law school and he was selling the PT. And that was eye-opening to me because I always thought they made good money in the membership and having tens and thousands of members, but he said the real money's in the PT. Yeah. And but the turnover, just so going crazy there every day and saying what's up to them. I'd see a trainer one day, then not the next, and they're always training new ones. And then the gym was taking a big percentage of that PT's hour, and just I don't know.
It doesn't make and it's silly because it's like that. In order for that to change, all they would have to do in that example would be change your prices and increase them by $2 a month. Yeah. $2, $3 a month. Each customer is not going to give a shit. Oh, it's gone from $10 to $12 a month. I'm not going to change over that. Right. But change your employee. Personal trainers are great people that hold. They keep clients there as well. Right. And they build the culture of that gym. Same as realtors. The realtors build the culture of the brokerage. That if they're winning, you win way more. And you, like I said, you can just increase the prices for the membership by a couple of bucks. It's like rent of a home. If you increase the rent of a home by $50, $100 a month, people are going to be like, fuck it, I'll stay. Right. But yeah, it just seems like a lot of the corporate companies here don't operate like that. They fuck the employees and then spend shitloads of money on marketing to be like, we're great, and then all false promises at the start, like you'll get this, and this, and within 2 months the employees are like, fuck you guys, I haven't seen shit.
Same way with the big companies with real estate. Yeah, that's why I love it. They let them spend the money, let them do the recruiting, then naturally and organically we end up getting the agent. Yeah. So
that's always the best way. Let your competitors shoot themselves in the feet.
Right. Yeah. I like being the second or third guy they try out. Because
you look great in comparison then.
Right. Yeah. And there's no gray area with us. We have what we have to offer. Our fees are set. You know, we help and train more than anybody, and you know, and we don't paint a picture. Like from day one, when I interview an agent, like I'm completely upfront and real. I tell them this is not all rainbows and sunshine and unicorns. You're not going to make $1 million your first year. Like it's, you know, I don't paint a picture for them, and you know, I'm as real as I possibly can be. And I think they appreciate that, because some of them quit jobs and jump right into real estate.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hold up, pump the brakes, keep that job. You can slowly transition into this. Keep that steady paycheck so you're not, you know, fucking wired and strapped for money and bills, because, you know, you can get a home under contract and be expecting a $10,000 or $15,000 check in 30 to 45 days, and 28 days into it, that deal could fall through like that. And then what? You know, you gotta, you know, struggle and, you know, try to get more shit down the pipeline. But you know, I like when new agents transition out of a job and keep it, and keep that steady line of income and slowly get into real estate.
Yeah. So what would be your, like, I'm guessing that would be your biggest advice for a new realtor, is don't go balls to the wall. Be
Right.
hesitant in a way, or like one foot in, 1 foot out in a way.
Maybe
out,
not
you know
one
what I mean?
foot in, but don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
You know, keep that job serving or bartending, or an outlet to meet people, because you don't sell real estate unless you know people. You don't become successful in real estate unless you are brand yourself to many, many people and create those relationships. Until you like, because the problem is these big corporate companies paint this picture and make it sound like it's going to be so easy, and make it seem like they're going to give so many leads and keep that agent afloat, and it never happens. The only person you can count on in real estate is yourself. And then they get discouraged and quit. And that's, you know, within the first 3 or 4 months, they didn't make a sale, they didn't get a paycheck. They're like, well, fuck this, I can't survive.
Welcome to starting every business.
Exactly. So when they're working as a server or whatever their current job is, before they get that license, and they want to quit and just jump full-fledged into real estate, I tell them, you can do real estate from your phone. You can set up showings at night, on the weekends. You can still work part-time or work 9 to 5 and transition into real estate. So yes, my biggest advice for any new agents would be, you know, don't put all your eggs in one basket. When you have a certain amount of money in the bank that you think you can survive on for 6 months, then maybe quit that job. But I think that's a big mistake that a lot of them make. And I feel like it starts from the top, because they get this beautiful picture painted for them. And then a lot of them get discouraged and they quit and they give up.
Yeah. That's probably like also old school marketing techniques.
Right.
You know, like before the internet, buyer's remorse didn't really mean anything. You know, like from products to services, you know, you could sell bullshit to people and it didn't matter, because all that mattered was getting the sale. There was no Google reviews. There was no, like, word of mouth wasn't fast enough, you know?
Right.
And so it feels like a lot of those places are still stuck in that, versus if you're thinking at least mid to long term,
Right.
from every aspect, it's going to pay back crazy dividends, because like the internet was great. It was a leveler for a lot of bullshit. You know, it also exacerbated a lot of bullshit, but by and large, it's like if you want to research a business, I don't have to do much now.
No.
I pick up my phone.
That's it.
I do a couple of Googles, or Instagram, or again, I can search on all different things. Because 80% of people now will search a social media for a company before they even decide to call. And yeah, I don't know. Like, if it just feels like the internet was a really good thing for a lot of bullshit too, as much as everyone likes to crap on it.
Right.
You know?
Right. No, I agree. Internet changed a lot of lives, and, you know, it changed a lot of things in our world. And I think for the better. I think, you know, with social media and dating apps and shit, and, you know, phones in general for kids, and my kids' generation sucks, because I don't know how old I'm 35.
I'm 33.
Yes.
No, shit, 34. Jesus.
Well, there you go. So you played outside as a kid, and you were
I was a skateboarder.
90s kid. Yeah. I wasn't very good on a skateboard, but I tried. I hit the ramps with like the rollerblades and bikes and shit. But I make my kids get outside. They're, they have phones and, mainly for safety reasons and stuff like that now. But, and I try to keep them off them as much as I can. It's almost impossible. But I think technology and phones and the internet kind of fucked the newer generation.
Yeah.
Because they're all like this, 24 hours a day.
Well, I'm asking if you read a million books now. Irresistible.
I haven't.
So that's by Adam someone. He's an Aussie. Fascinating book.
Yeah.
It goes into the addiction of it leads with technology, but it talks about addiction in general as well.
Right.
Like habits are the most addictive things. That's why we have a coffee in the morning. We're more addicted to the habit than we are the caffeine hit. And he goes into a lot of things to do with like how those phones work and how even with conversations, for example, they would have a normal conversation like this, and then they'll put a phone in the line of sight, face down, not even owned by you and I, but they see that the conversation drops 20%. Because you're now focusing on what's on the other side of that window,
right?
And it goes.
Makes sense.
It's such a fascinating book that I highly recommend. And after reading that, I was like, all right, how do I lean into my weaknesses? I've always done that with eating. Like I don't buy bad food for the home for later because later never comes. It's always right now. I'm like that first night, I'm like, I feel like chocolate.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But I know I'm lazy in areas where it's like if at 8 o'clock at night, if I feel like some chocolate, I'm gonna be like, fuck, I want some. I'm angry, but I'm too lazy to get in the car and go and drive.
Right.
I'll just go to bed, fuck it. And then I'm happy the next morning.
Right.
I've started doing that with like a tally system. So I'm learning Spanish.
Good.
I'm on day 359 in a row because I'm like, all right, they have all the components of a video game. Like there's leaderboards with points. There's, different trophies you get for certain things. And there's a streak of days. And so I've lent into that deliberately, allowing myself to get addicted, but it's got a healthy outcome. And I've started doing that with other things now too. So for example, I've got a tally board of days without caffeine. Tally every day. And then, so say for example, I had a Celsius or a coffee tomorrow. I'm like, fuck, and I have to wipe it out, start again. I've got that with that, bad chocolates, like just chocolate in general, except for protein bars. That's my it doesn't count. And also gluten, like excess gluten, because that flares it up. And I always forget that I want to have a reminder every morning as I tally, don't do it. But then I've got the reverse. So like days since my last new client, days since my last $2,000 plus payment from a package. And as that one gets bigger, the reverse is happening. I'm like, fuck, I'm getting angry. I'm looking forward to wiping it out. And so by using those addictive properties of seeing a tally, I'm leveraging my, my human biases and whatever it is that it motivates me every morning because I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, tally or yes, wipe it off.
Right. That makes sense. I like that. I did 75 hard. I only made it to day 48. And I forgot to read one night. For whatever reason, I just went to bed. But I like my biggest problem, my biggest downfall is food. Like I've never been into drugs or drinking or anything like that, but I've even when I was fighting, I always fought at a weight where I didn't have to cut. And but I've always been a snacker, and I've always been really regimented with everything in my life, and even tried to be regimented with meal prepping and food, but I would always snack and do shit. I'm not a big sweets person, but I'm a big like carbs person and bread and chips and stuff like that. But it makes sense. That makes total sense. Like now, just since I started 75 hard, and I'm not doing 75 hard, but I'm still really staying regimented with the diet, and I'm down like 18 pounds.
Hey.
But and I feel great, and I'm really trying to stay away from gluten and stuff like that because I think it really messes with my stomach. And I'm giving myself one cheat meal a week, not a cheat day, but just one cheat meal. and I've been really good with that. And I feel great. Like,
Yeah.
and it's like the first time in my life that I really stuck to a diet, but the tally system and really keeping yourself, you know, not restrained, but, you know, in check is smart. Like, I think you have to do it, or you don't, or you say, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, or I'll start it next week. And I'm really regimented in every aspect of my life. I'm very methodical, but I've really never have put it into nutrition. And finally it took me, you know, 20 years since I got into like lifting and stuff like that at like 14, 15 to really, like, nutrition and diet is so important.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's 80-90% of, you know, I think it's the most important thing when it comes to your physique and stuff like that.
Yeah. Not only that, it just like you feel better.
Right.
You know, like I know I always chase how I feel after. So like, you know how people are like, there's two types of massages. There's deep tissue, which is painful during, better after. Or there's the other, like, sort of like, I'll rub you down, you feel great during, but doesn't really matter after. I'll choose deep tissue, but it's the same with, I'm always trying to, with how I eat, it's like, I mean, let's face it, we eat every day. So there's enough data coming in for me to test, you know,
Right.
that it's like, I want to chase how I feel after the meal, not during.
Right.
Because usually when you're chasing during, you're eating certain types of food that feel great. Like it's mouth high. You're like, oh yeah, this, oh yum yum. That, but after you kind of like, oh fuck, ugh.
Yeah.
Versus the opposite, where I'm like, oh, this is really nice. Like, it's a good steak. This is, you know, great fruit. And then after, I'm like, fuck, I feel energized, you know? Like, I probably could go run. I won't, but I could. Yeah. The option's there.
Right. I felt great. I felt, you know, so much less bloated and, you know, a little bit fewer headaches and stuff like that. One thing I want to get rid of one day is caffeine, as we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, you're on like caffeine 3 for the day or something.
Yeah, and then I'll have a pre-workout. But
I would have so crazy anxiety.
yeah, my thing is I'm controlled by my phone. I'm like a slave to my phone, because I don't sell anymore, and we, you know, have almost 400 agents. So, and I get a lot of help from my partners and other brokers, but for the majority of it, I take the brunt of the calls and the texts. So staring at my phone, like, just tires me out throughout the day. Mentally, it wears you out. And I lean on the caffeine, I guess, as a pick-me-up. And, you know, one turns into two, and then, you know, then you're going to the gym, hitting a pre-workout. And I try to intake no caffeine after 5 p.m.
Yeah.
Because just noticing working out later in the day now and hitting that pre-workout at like 2 or 3, I'm like wired to like 11.
Yeah.
And then I got to hit a vape to go to sleep. I recently started doing a vape in the last year. Never tried marijuana until I was 30 years old. I tried it legally in Colorado and didn't like it. I still don't like it, but I am not a sleeper. And I'm lucky if I get 3 to 4 hours a night.
Really?
And my buddy, you know, put me on to a marijuana vape with, I guess it's indica. And it's been helping me sleep at least 5.5 hours. And I'm not getting up all night long, and I felt better, you know, during the day.
I wonder if it is related to caffeine. One thing I've found, instead of that, do a bunch of push-ups.
Yeah.
Like,
and it gets that
blood
blood flowing.
It gets the blood flowing. You get more awake. You like, I've done a few different things. So like, there's that, because I'm like day 5 without caffeine. But my thing is, like, if I'm having one a day, I'm like, all right, cut it. Like, even one a day for me is my limit, where I'm like, nah, stop. I'm in too much of a habit of this. But there's certain things that will help. I listen to Andrew Huberman, and he's like a neurologist and so fucking smart. But there's movement, get the blood flowing. That'll help. Even stretching can open everything back up. But the real cool one is that will help with your circadian rhythms as well. Is outdoors, and it doesn't have to be a lot. So in the bottom of our eyes, we have receptors that perceive the light from the sun.
Right.
And that's what tells us what time of day it is. Now, the issue is that most of the time now we're inside. you know, so we haven't got that that gauge. So what I'll do is, I mean, this morning I was outside for, you know, just 10 minutes, whatever, but, you know, I can be on my phone, I can still be working.
Right.
But I'm making sure that I'm collecting the morning sunlight into those receptors, and it's like, all right, it's time to be awake. Midday, I'll do the same thing, just 10 minutes. It's nothing crazy, but same thing, I'm still working. I'll call someone just to chat, to catch up, to see, like, brainstorm ideas or whatever.
Right.
Plus walking, so I'm also getting blood flow. 3 p.m., 6 p.m., same thing.
That makes sense.
And what happens is I'm just multiple reasons. It's like, it'll tell me when to start slowing down, but also in the morning and during the day and at 3 p.m., it's still, the sun is telling me, like, hey, it's still time to be awake, Blake.
Right.
So, you know,
makes sense.
Stay awake.
Yeah.
And I noticed that because obviously editing, I'm in front of a computer for fucking 6 hours sometimes. Yeah. And I feel it because I start sitting like that, or slouching down, or like lately I've been sitting like this. It's just anything to keep me awake.
Right.
Then I'm like, all right, I'm going to go out, walk for 10 minutes. Walk down the street, walk back, bang, I'm alive, let's go.
Yeah, I like that. I'm going to have to try to start doing that. Just take a walk outside of my office.
Literally. And you can still work. Like, that's the best part. It's not like you're...
The worst part of drinking a lot of caffeine is I have to, like, right now I'm about to pee my pants.
I know. These waters hit me.
And I have a small bladder to begin with, but when you're adding caffeine to that, it naturally, like, triggers it even more. And I try to consume a lot of water too.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's just, I don't know. I think caffeine is just as bad as any other drug. Like, you know, people rely on it, and I have buddies that are drinking like 3 or 4 bangs a day and pre-workout on top of that.
Oh no, bang has 300 milligrams, doesn't it?
I think so. Yeah,
this is 200.
200.
I don't think they have it on the can.
They're
sneaky little fuckers.
Yeah,
Celsius.
They might not. I was doing 2 5-hour energies a day.
Oh,
the little
man.
ones.
That thing, I went into like what I could only imagine would be like what a K hole would feel like, you know, like ketamine holes. I smashed one because they're not in Australia.
I don't see it.
Or at least they're new. But in 2012, when I visited here for the second time, I was sipping on it. I'm like, whatever, but I was tired.
Right.
Like, fuck it, smashed the whole thing. It's so vividly burnt in my memory. I'm in the back seat of the car, and I'm just like this, just head on the car, on the front seat, just fucking dying.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, people drink this shit, and I'm like,
I was getting really, really bad headaches then. And what the kicker was, I remember this plain as day. My little one had a soccer game, and I had to call my friend Lindsay to take the girls because I was puking from a migraine. And my friend Lindsay was like, you need to quit drinking those. I was drinking like 2 or 3 a day. I wasn't drinking pre-workout though. I just recently got back into pre-workout. And that day on, that was like 5 years ago, I'd never drink another one.
Yeah.
But these and coffee and all that other shit is nowhere near, you know, as good. I mean, in my opinion, it's just something.
The weird thing is though, I mean, you'd have to wean off it.
Yeah.
But even just going from a habit of 1 a day, I've got another friend who he went from 3 a day. You know, the first week was intense because he just went cold turkey. But he's like 3 weeks in now of no caffeine, and he's just like, dude, I'm just as tired as I was when I was having it.
Right.
You know, but I'm just as awake as well.
Yeah.
But now I'm just not consuming, you know, three coffees or 3, you know, energy drinks a day.
Right.
And he's just having water.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't like being not enslaved, you know, like it's not addicted, but like I don't want to be held by something, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, I want to be held by the things that are good. Like, I want to be quote unquote semi-addicted to work. Like that's not a bad thing.
Right.
You know, or addicted to that streak that I was telling you about, like line.
Right.
But
I agree.
not something else like caffeine.
No, you're kind of at the mercy of it. Like you rely on it. And I've never been addicted to anything as far as like drinking or drugs or anything. But obviously, you know, I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is go to the Nespresso machine and, you know, I fucking sleepwalk to it. And I just put the pot in and doot. And I think coffee, you know, it's still caffeine, and I think is what's terrible for you. Anything canned or processed or, with all
Unless
these.
it's water.
Unless it's water. But, if you look at the freaking,
it's a shopping
ingredients,
list
it's
on there.
like, I can't even pronounce, 30% of those words. So it can't be good for you. Like it's just not. Like I
heard someone break that down once before though. Like if we didn't call it water, you'd be reading, dihydrogen oxide.
Yeah.
You'd be like, what the fuck? I don't know what that is.
Right.
I remember someone it was a comedian, of course, but he was just saying, like, we're trying to get rid of dihydrogen oxide. It's in everything currently, it kills many people a year, and it does, drowning.
Right. Yeah, it's true.
So they're leading with all these things, like, people would be like, yeah, fuck, we need to get rid of this chemical. Like, yeah, it's water. They're like, oh.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I guess you can break it down anyway.
Yeah, but we'll wrap it up because I need a pee too.
Yeah, I'm about to piss my pants.
I know. We're both getting jittery. So for anyone who's listening, where can they reach you? What's the best
definitely
way?
our website, marzuccorealestate.com, gets, fed to one of my employees. And but definitely on Instagram. Like we have a big following on Instagram, whether it's my personal page or the brokerage page. Believe it or not, social media has been a great recruiter for us. So, they can check out our culture and our vibe. They can see everything on social media.
All right. Awesome. So make sure you do, guys. And if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to subscribe. Hit the bell so that you don't miss stuff because there's a lot of interesting people like Josh.
Appreciate that.
All right. See you guys. Bye.
Thank you.
Oh, man. I got to pee so bad.